Welcome to the Peak Performance and Peak Satisfaction podcast with Master Executive Coach Sherry Gregoff. Sherry helps business people perform better, get rewarded handsomely, and actually enjoy their work. After having her own career turnaround, she now helps other high-powered business professionals experience the same. Join the movement to work differently.
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. If you have ever experienced burnout, you may be weary of returning to that mode. If you are in borderline burnout right now, you may be tempted to quiet quit and pull back from work altogether. In today's episode, I will show you how to find the happy middle ground of working well without the danger of burnout. Before we jump in, I want to shout out one of my clients who had a win in this area. Here is the quote from him. Sherry showed me how to trust myself, to not allow myself to fall back into a rut of burnout. It was so painful before that I recognize it has been holding me back from doing my best work for fear that it would resurface. I had felt on the fence of feeling bored, but being scared to fully engage in my work. This client had a couple of years of burnout that took a significant toll on his health. He wanted to avoid going through that again in the worst way. It showed up as a blocker to getting fully invested in his work or committing to giving his best at the office. It appeared that was the only course to prevent burnout, but he was frustrated and bored, feeling restless by not doing his best work. We gauged how he would detect if once again he started working out of alignment with his priorities, and we did scenario planning for what he would do differently as soon as he recognized overstressing in his habits. By doing this exercise, he realized that he was in control of immediately making adjustments to take excellent care of himself once again, and could put work back in its place in his rank priorities behind health and behind relationships. Anytime he sensed his own resistance to leaning into his work, we would revisit this, and it helped him develop trust in himself, his skills, and his toolkit to keep burnout at bay. From there, he would commit to his work without hesitation and perform his best, feeling confident and more at ease. Similar victories are shared by all of my clients, and I have experienced it too in my own career turnaround. So let's hop to today's podcast content and get you on your way to experiencing this also. When we think about burnout, we often think of someone burning the midnight oil, working all hours of the day. I've got a surprise twist for you. In my experience, long hours often accompanies burnout, sure, but the main driver in burnout is how we are thinking about our work. Our relationship with our work is usually what's turned sour. So even if we're holding firm to 9 to 5-ish hours, we may still burn out. The culprit is our stress levels related to work. The good news is, this is in our control, far more than we realize. Today, I will show you how to detect burnout and what to do next. Hint, it's not quit your job and start a paddleboard stand on an island in the Caribbean. First, how to detect burnout. If we feel that we don't have the energy to do all the things that we have to do today, if we have a fear that we're doing too much, such that we will implode or self-destruct, we may sense that we are operating on autopilot, going through the motions, but feeling hollow or dead inside. We may feel pulled in all directions, not just in demand by many constituents, but pulled by an urgent need. It's like we're being quartered. 4 horses pulling each limb. This is graphic, I know, but the heartache and fear that can be intertwined in the burnout we experience is significant. We may walk around feeling like we're letting everyone down. As a working mom, I have felt this acutely. When I am momming at the special event at school at 11 a.m. on a weekday, I've felt guilty, like I'm letting down my employer and my team by being a mom and showing up for my kids. When I'm working, completely engaged and in my flow state in my work, I've felt guilty that I am wholly focused there and not cultivating my personal relationships or even my own health. This conflict at our core is typically what fuels burnout. We may be seeking that validation from our work colleagues, our loved ones, or even on the scale or in the mirror to tell us that we are succeeding in our respective roles. It can feel like a chase, a doomed mission because someone will always be disappointed. Some of the symptoms are strained relationships, interpersonal conflict, resentment, and codependency, leaning on people as support systems to hold us up in our burnout. In our health, we may feel vulnerable, exposed to any curveball in our day or twist of events that might permanently put us over the edge emotionally, and physically, we're showing wear and tear. In our work, we may feel head underwater, demands piling up, missed expectations abounding, having big career goals and racing to keep up with peers and our own self-judgment on where we should be by now. This is painful. I know it firsthand. If this resonates with you, you came to the right place today. We can halt this burnout and overstressing routine. In fact, it's the subject of my second vodcast episode, which you can unlock in the first link in the show notes for more specific visual teaching on this topic. But in this podcast episode, we are honing in on threading the needle between burnout and quiet quitting. We are rebooting our relationship with our work. Whether you are being haunted by feeling burnout now, or having experienced it in the past and now feel fear associated with having it happen again, today we unpack how to shift our perspective on work so that we enjoy it and excel with ease. Burnout, or fear of burnout, is usually a dichotomy of all or nothing that our brain serves up as the two options. We either get so wrapped up in our work that we burn out, or we have to unplug entirely to restore our well-being. I have a client about to wrap up at her job of many years. Feeling some burnout herself, she feels pulled to disengage from work entirely to heal. I have another client who feels like she needs to slow down or reset whenever the sensation of burnout arises. I have another client whose previous burnout keeps him from fully embracing his work now, for fear it will take over all aspects of his being again. His new routine of leaning back from his work has him feeling bored and restless. These are common situations. When we suffer from burnout, our brain may suggest the polar opposite as the fix. For example, that we need to completely disengage from work to heal our relationship with it. What we find at the paddleboard stand in the Caribbean, or on the extended sabbatical, however, is that it's uninteresting after a time. We have these skills, this expertise, and a natural drive to be creative and have an impact. So when they are left dormant, we feel a bit bored. There's only so many hobbies for pleasure or cocktails to escape that one can have. I would offer to you that our natural, innate inclination is to use our talents and wisdom to make an impact. If we aren't intellectually engaged, we find other, usually less constructive ways to busy ourselves. In an attempt to cure the burnout, we can create a new issue, which is the feeling of missing our flow state, where we are completely engaged in a level of challenge just beyond our comfort zone, where we really need to concentrate in order to learn and grow. If we try to eliminate this desire altogether, we tend to grow frustrated. Instead, we can embrace work as our creative outlet where we can learn new things and grow. This is feeding our intellect. When we usually think about our health and wellness, first up, the go-to area is our physical health, as it's the most easily observable and measurable health factor. More recently, culturally, there is more awareness and emphasis on our mental health or emotional wellness. We may tend to our spiritual health, which for me is at the top of the list, not only for health, but for everything. And I would suggest a fourth factor, which is our intellectual health, where we are inspired to learn more about a topic, to contribute in a topic, and to develop a craft. In our career advancement race, and all these distractions alongside our work, including comparison and competition, we sometimes forget the love of the craft, why we got into this line of work in the first place and what we love about it. To help restore your relationship with your work, this is a mandatory first step. Stop and think right now. What do you enjoy about the work that you do? Why did you choose it? Why do you choose it every day? Why do you show up day after day? If you find yourself giving responses such as, "It's what a family member does, so I just followed suit," or "I've got to put food on the table," go deeper. There are things you enjoy in your work that keep you from quitting it altogether. What are they? As you explore this, you may find some unexpected answers. When we are honest with ourselves, and sometimes this only happens when we have free time on our hands for an extended period of time, we find that intellectual challenge is a necessity to feel content. There is a flow state that occurs where time and space slip away as we're fully engrossed and engaged in that activity that we enjoy, and it only happens when there is a level of challenge where we feel capable of meeting that challenge, but again, it requires our full attention. If we don't have this element in our lives, a box usually ticked by our work, we won't be fully satisfied. Where things go wrong in our relationship with our work is that we start to take that constructive level of stress that helps us to grow in a healthy way, and we let it balloon out of control because of our own perspective. For example, when we don't know how to do something immediately, and we let the stress get sky high by having an expectation that we need to know how to do it all up front, or that our work must always be perfect with no mistakes, or that we must do our work better than someone else with more experience doing it, or that our self-worth depends on that performance rating, promotion, compensation, or a manager's perception of us. These twisted beliefs escalate the level of stress with our work. When we never right the ship and disarm these misguided beliefs, this escalated level of stress persists, and it becomes chronic. Then our usual state of being is to be overstressed about our work and wrestling with burnout. So how do we counteract this dynamic? By actively managing our perspective on our work. By remembering that we chose this line of work for a reason, that we choose to show up every day for a reason, that there are aspects of the work that we love, that we can shape our role to be more of what we love. That last set of reflection questions can help you find this more constructive perspective to counteract the dread of adulting and work as a necessary evil that most of society tends to buy into. And also, we must remember that we don't have to be perfect and always do things the right way and make the right decisions, but instead to know that we are always learning and growing. We take action and we learn from the response we get. We adjust course and we go again. There is no shortcut to the learning and development cycle. Perceived failure is just feedback. We only lose when we quit. We can find a level of comfort with being uncomfortable, but it's only possible with this constructive growth mindset. If in this process we decide we want to search for a role that is a better fit for us, we roll up our sleeves and get after it. The only one to blame for staying in a situation that we hate is us. We will never know if a better alternative exists unless we look for it, apply for it, receive a job offer, evaluate our options, and take the one that we believe to be best, given the information available to us at the time. Clarity comes from action. So if you've done this hygiene check on your mindset, if you've found the level of contentment possible in your current situation, and now you want to aim higher in a different role, get to work to make it happen. This active management of our perspective on our work takes practice, just like training at the gym. It's a new muscle that needs to be built and maintained. It takes daily practice. In the beginning, it's catching your mindset every time it starts to repeat some of those twisted beliefs, and use that moment instead to proactively redirect it to what is more true and more constructive. The more accurate truths that I shared with you today may really ring true for you in this moment, but the only way they will change your perspective and your outcomes and your success and satisfaction is by building them into your own belief system. This takes repetition. I help my clients build this muscle and am the sounding board for them when they can't find their way out of the twisted beliefs that they may have repeated to themselves for a lifetime. This is the cause behind burnout, the real cause, our perspective on our work. When experiencing burnout or fearing that we will land in burnout and are overcorrecting by quiet quitting, we are likely under the impression that it's not something we can control. We might think this level of stress is mandatory for anyone in our type of role, in our company, or in our industry. We might think that at our level as an executive or business owner, this level of stress is innate. We might think that it's our work ethic or high standards that are just a given in the equation, such that we will always feel chronic stress. That's all false. No matter your role, your company, your industry, your level of seniority, the scope of responsibility you have, and your natural predisposition towards work, you can have an entirely different relationship with and experience of your work. You don't need society norms to change or your corporate culture to change. The only change that is needed is within you, your perspective, your decisions, and your actions. These are all 100% within your control. Whether you let the burnout or quiet quitting continue as your work mode is up to you. This can be a confronting statement to hear, but it can also change everything for you. For many years, I blamed the people and situation around me for my overstressing and burnout, for my preoccupation with my work that consumed all my time, because even when I wasn't working, I felt tormented with the stress of my work, always thinking about it. I thought it was a necessary product of the line of work I chose, or the excellence I was accustomed to aiming for and achieving. I thought I was committed to it for all of my working life until retirement, or until I was so fed up that I threw in the towel. Several years ago, I learned the truth, that it was all in my control. Then I learned the skills to actively manage my mindset, and it allowed me to completely transform my relationship with my work. I let go of the dread that I thought was mandatory. My worry and anxiety subsided. My pressure to perform faded to a constructive level. I started tuning in to what I loved about my work and what I wanted to create next. I learned how to have my own back, even when things didn't go my way or when I flubbed a milestone. I took every experience and learned from it. I recognized a wave of discomfort in doing something new as a sign that I was on the right track. This is how I cultivated peak performance and peak satisfaction, not one at the expense of the other. When we are overstressed and burnout, we think that in order to perform our best, we must accept a level of misery for our success. When we are quiet quitting and leaning back from our work in hopes for more satisfaction, we think it's the only way to preserve our own well-being, and we're confused by the boredom and frustration that pops up as a result. My message to you today is that we need both the opportunity to perform well and the satisfaction. As humans, we are meant to engage intellectually, experience challenge, learn, grow, and contribute. It's necessary for us to feel satisfaction. And also, we can detect and adjust when that challenge gets magnified to a destructive degree, and we can shift our perspective and change our situation to have high satisfaction and self-care, even as we excel in our work. The performance and satisfaction, they go hand in hand. The all-or-nothing dichotomy of all in at work with no regard for our well-being, or the purported disengagement from work for self-preservation, neither are sustainable. Neither will meet our basic human needs of intellectual stimulation and self-care. Luckily, there are more than these two options, and when it comes to managing our career strategy, everything in between can be the happy middle ground for you. There are many combinations such that we can all find one that works for us. And let me tell you, it feels amazing to find the career strategy, the perspective on our work, and the decisions and actions that create the performance and satisfaction that we want. We are empowered to do exactly this. It's not magic or a lucky break that makes it so. It's created with intention by mastering skills and practicing them daily, by learning from the decisions we make and actions we take, and going again with that new wisdom. It builds the trust in ourselves to not let ourselves get caught up in overstressing and burnout, trusting that we will detect when we start to show signs and will immediately adjust course to change how we are working and thinking about our work. It builds the trust in ourselves to take excellent care of ourselves as the number one asset of our career, without having to quit altogether or completely eject ourselves out of any work environment. This is the process that I am living. This is the process I guide clients through daily. This is what I describe to you and share different pieces of in my podcast, in my weekly emails, my daily social posts, and now in my private vodcast is the most dynamic way to learn this material with visuals included. You can decide that this is the time that you will find your career strategy that's more effective than overstressing or quiet quitting. Register now for my private podcast on success and satisfaction, with a new episode dropping weekly this summer to kickstart this process with me. Watch the first episode instantly at the first link in the show notes. It's titled, Increase the ROI on Your Work with More Impact in Less Hours, and Finally Stop Overworking. Then you can register for access to the second episode dropping this weekend, entitled Prevent Burnout by Turning the Energy Faucet On and Off at Will and Quit Overstressing. Each week for the rest of the summer, I'm teaching the specific habits you can practice with me every week for more success and satisfaction by September. Register now for free and enjoy this most powerful content yet in a brand new video podcast format to help internalize it and apply it immediately. It's tailor-made for you this summer to catch it on your lunch break, when you get a lull at work, or to listen to it from the beach, to take a watch and take it in. I can't wait to hear your results. Until next time.
Looking for support in applying the principles and strategies in today's episode? Sherry coaches clients one-on-one as their trusted confidant and advisor, helping each client create the work and life they had only dreamed of. To schedule your complimentary career strategy session, go to sherrygregoff.com/apply to book time with her today. It's one simple step that can change everything.